globe, and then you create little pieces of paper that correspond to those little pieces of property. And you put them into the county and city and state archives, and then when someone you want to screw over appears to own a piece of land that you want, you go down and you try to buy it from them, and if you can't buy it from them, what do? Well, you get the judge to take it from them through some sort of a writ that you need it more than they do. It's called eminent domain, and then you have it. It's yours. Another form of exploitation. It's okay, it's progress. No, it's not progress. Progress is moving so that the little guy can own a piece of property. What you just did was to steal that little piece of property from this guy, and that was all that he owned. It was his life. It was his family's life. It was everything to him. And now you've stolen it from him. You've stolen it from him. You've taken his destiny away. And now you're trying to tell people that in order to improve the city so that more people can make money, we're going to take Johnny's land away from him. Well, what if Johnny told the banker, you're screwing people over with these loans. I want to take your bank and I want to smash it. And I want to take your loan papers and I want to burn them so that everybody's free of having to pay these off. Wouldn't that be the same thing as stealing his land by eminent domain? You could say, I'll give you what the loan paper is worth. Since you stole the money, it's probably worth 3 cents on the dollar. So here's a $100,000 note. I'm going to give you $3,000. Now get the hell out of here. Need to have the sheriff come up and remove him from the bank and have the fire company come and set it on fire and burn everything in it. He'd say, I did this for progress. Now, I know what you're saying. You're saying, well, you're a little nuts thinking like this, but, you know, sometimes we have to think off the road, so to speak. We have to take a different path in order to wind our way out of the depths of hell that we find ourselves in. And that's where we are now. We're in a little hell that we've created. And in this little hell that we've created, well, things aren't quite right. Things just are not quite right. So what are we going to do about things? We don't have the power to do very much at all. We need to start thinking about our world and stop being victims. We need to start doing things that will allow us to feel that we have some right to live here on this little landmass, and that the rich and the powerful don't really have the right to do the things that they're doing to us. Because there's more to life than bending your knee to the rich and the powerful, who got there by working little girls and boys in a factory, when in fact they shouldn't have done that. They should have left them alone. They should have let them stay at home. Well, look at this. This is really bringing this thing back. I always hoped they'd bring those buildings back with those British Isle tops on them, those roofs. We've got a mayor here in St. Louis by the name of Slay, who has done a very good job of chasing the criminal people out of the area. At the same time, trying to help the poor people, but those that are beyond help, those who are criminals, well, just come and buy their stuff and fix it up so that maybe some non-criminal people might be able to come back. Which is exactly what I said that the rich and powerful were doing. So I guess no matter what you say, you're going to contradict yourself eventually. But never so swiftly. The street that I'm on right now is the same street that a famous poet walked down on his way to Washington University every day. He lived right down here where the shoe district was. He'd walk 5 miles to Washington University. His name was T.S. Eliot, Tom Stearns Eliot. And he wrote the love song of J. Alfred Prufrock that every college kid has to read. And guess what? A graduate student from the University of Missouri, which I went to, well, he was looking at haunts of T.S. Eliot for his doctorate paper, his thesis. And he went down this street, and look how well it's come back now after...
Lights in the street.
Look at these lights right in the street here. This is really cool. There's trees up here with lights in them. Very nice. One restaurant after another. This is beautiful. Anyway, he would walk down this street toward Washington University. And so the kid who was trying to find out what it was like here when T.S. Eliot was here, he walked it many times. And one day, they were tearing down a building. And over the days, they took the brick wall down. And when they took it down, the building that was against the brick wall had a sign on it. It said, Prufrock Manufacturing Company. J. Alfred Prufrock Manufacturing Company. Now that was a pretty nice discovery. Think about that. He had discovered that T.S. Eliot had seen the name J. Alfred Prufrock on a manufacturing building where they made shoes. St. Louis used to be the city of shoes. And we're right in the shoe district here. All these buildings are huge. In fact, it's the closest thing to New York and St. Louis is Washington Avenue. When I was a kid, there was so much coal dust down here that you couldn't see the buildings from the sidewalks. That's how much there was. And at night, when you walked from wherever you were, like a theater or whatever, and you wanted to get to the bus stop, people would position themselves and tell you what corner it was. Chestnut and 10th, they'd yell, Chestnut and 10th, and you'd go over there and you'd stand there and you'd take their place, and someone would be yelling Chestnut and 9th, Chestnut and 9th, and they'd go over there, and then pretty soon they'd be yelling Chestnut and 9th. And when somebody came to you, well, you would move on to the next street too, because you couldn't see anything. You couldn't even see the bus lights until they got within 3 feet of you, and then they were about the size of a pinpoint. And all of a sudden they'd open up in a little cone of dirt. And I always wondered how they could see that from inside the bus. How would they see the street? Well, if you're up above it, you could see it. But if you were on the street looking at it, it's pretty chaotic looking. Here's something where they kind of ruined the street here, I think. They built this piece of junk across here. You see it up there? Well, Macy's, which used to be Famous and Bar, which is right down that way,